Hi, I'm Dr. Christine Anderson. I am a chiropractor of over 30 years in Los Angeles, California. And last time I came on last week, I talked about why movement was so important and the benefits that you get from movement. And so today I thought I'd come on and talk about 7 creative ways to get movement into your life, because in order to get those benefits, you have to move. And with our busy lives and everything is automated, and with all the sitting we're doing, it is really very difficult to get movement into our lives. So let's see what you think about these 7 ways. So I'm going to dive right in and talk about number 1. Make your workstation movement friendly. If you are spending the majority of your time at work and at a desk, you want to make it work for you. So number 1, you want an ergonomic setup. What does that mean? Well, it means that your body is not in any stress, whether you're sitting or standing. And I have done a video on ergonomic workstations, so I will put a link in the description and you can go check that out. Number 2 is getting a desk or a desktop that converts from sitting to standing. And sometimes your work will even pay for it if you get a note from your doctor or chiropractor or other healthcare provider saying that it is basically a necessity for you. So your work is going to pay for it. That's also going to decrease on any work comp liability they might have. So it's often a great investment for them. So there are a number of these out there now. You can certainly look for those desktop. They convert so you can raise it and lower it. And the nice thing is that then you can change your position throughout the day. And when you're standing at your desk, you can do simple stretches while you're working. You can maybe get some squats in there. You can move around, but it is really a great way. And the picture that is on the slide is showing a really great workstation. Look at that. We've got the desk built right into the treadmill. So this woman here can be moving throughout the day, just a nice slow pace of walk while she's scrolling, while she's typing, while she's doing her work, and she can get her 10,000 plus steps in with this. So super great inventions out there. You just have to do a little bit of searching. Certainly when you're talking on the phone, you don't have to be tied to your desk, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But move around. Even if you have a small office, you can walk around. You can do even some stretches standing up if you don't want to get on the floor. But make that phone time work for you. And if you're doing video conferencing, if you can get away with just putting your photo up there and not having the video on, same thing. You can move around. It doesn't have to be formal exercise, but just so you can get up out of your chair and not be sitting the whole time. Another great idea is using an exercise ball for a chair. And this really helped a lot of kids when they were doing their Zoom calls from home. Most of them are back at school, but some still are at home, or if they're doing homeschooling. And some schools are even adopting using exercise balls as a chair, because you constantly are moving. You're not sitting statically, even if it's little tiny motions, and the body has to constantly readjust itself. So you're working on your core. You're helping your eyes so that they don't get visual fatigue from staring at a screen in one spot because the eyes are moving. And all the tension goes out of the neck and the shoulders because these kids were trying to sit up straight and pay attention and sitting super still, which is really bad for the body because our bodies are designed to move. All right, so let's move on to number 2. Take mini movement breaks. So this is where you are actually getting up from your chair or wherever you're working and you are moving. Now, you don't have to move far. You can simply stand up, do some deep breathing, do some simple stretches. There's an illustration there of just stretching with the arms over the head and stretching them in front. Just for a minute or two is enough to kind of reset the brain and get some of the blood moving and the oxygen moving. So you want to do a timer. You want to set a timer for this, because I know myself, when I am working and trying to get things done, 20 minutes is nothing. Time goes by so quickly. And if you don't set that timer, an hour is going to go by, maybe even 2 or more, and you're going to be still sitting in that chair. So you've got to set a timer, try the 20 minutes, see if that works for you. That's the optimal. If that's not working, you can make it a little bit longer, but not any more than 1 hour. You definitely don't want to spend more than an hour sitting in your chair. Now, a little trick for this is to have a big, huge glass of water sitting there, at least 8 ounces, more if you can do it. And while you're working, you're drinking your water. Well, guess what? You've got an internal timer that is going to tell you you need to get up, because you're going to need to have a pee break. So then when you get up, you're going to go pee, you're going to get your water refilled, and in that time, you're going to at least be moving your body. Now, for a kid's break, you can get them, again, set a timer, just say, all right, you're going to work on this, whatever, homework or project or whatever it is. We're going to work on it for 20 minutes. You're going to be focused, and then you're going to have a little break. And so during that break, you can have some fun things to do, have them do some jumping jacks or dance. You can play freeze dance with them, or they can do it themselves. Have them run around the block or scooter or bike, or just go outside on their gym set that they have if you have a backyard. If they're on their ball, they can have a big bounce break. Or if you've got a trampoline, those mini tramps are so great. And even for your office, you can just put it up against the wall. So when you're having your break too, your mini movement break, play like a kid. Get out the mini tramp or put on some music and dance. Especially if you're having one of those bigger breaks every hour, you should try to take a little bit of a bigger break. But getting the body moving, because it is actually going to help that focus in the long run. And then segueing to that, number 3, play with your children. If you have children, this is a great opportunity to move. So many times now, kids are stuck in front of their devices. Parents are stuck in front of their devices. We are so glued into electronics. I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, because I'm able to do things like this show, but we have to have movement. So make this a family affair. Get out and just play with your kids. Kick or throw a ball around. Play tag. When you're at the playground with them, don't sit down on a bench on your phone. Get up and go play on the equipment. There's some really great things you can do. I often use playground equipment when I'm training, when I am away traveling. Go for a bike ride, go for a walk, swim with them, do yoga, just whatever it is. It doesn't have to be something formal, but your kids are also going to be more apt to move if you're doing it with them. You know, the whole thing, like, do as I say and not as I do. Well, here you want to be the example for them. So doing it together is certainly a lot of fun, and it's going to encourage healthy habits for them too. Now, if you are a new parent and you've got a baby or a small toddler, you can use them as weights. So why pick up a dumbbell when you can pick up your baby and do curls, or lift up over your head, or do hamstring deadlift type of things. Lay on your back, hold them on your knees, and do some core, so some sit-ups and play peekaboo. I mean, you've got to be creative, and I know when my kids were little, I oftentimes, in order to get movement, I got on the floor with them and I did core work and stretching while I was playing with them, because you've got to try and fit it in. You only have so many hours in the day. If you're going to use electronics, there might be some other ones out there. Back when my kids were little, it was Wii and Dance Dance Revolution. So this way you're making electronics work for you, using them to help them get off the couch or out of their gaming chairs and actually using their bodies to move whatever they're playing with. And of course, having a dance party, super fun. Some of the best times with my kids, putting on music and just going crazy. Number 4, get off the couch and onto the floor. Those couches, if we could get them out of our house, it would be half the battle, and just have a big mat on the floor in our living rooms. Such a great time. Really, for me, the rule is if I am watching something, I am going to be stretching or doing body weight, and that is oftentimes what I do. So you can make it a rule like, all right, if we're going to watch a movie or if we're going to watch this documentary, we're going to get on the floor. You can stretch, you can work on your core and do body weight exercises. So efficient, so good for you. And, after a couple of reps, your body starts weighing a lot. You can use weights, you can do just floor exercises, you can get your foam roller out and use it, but get off the couch and onto the floor. Now, in those instances that you don't want to get on the floor, I have done things on the bed. So when I'm traveling, sometimes either if there isn't a gym or you go down to the gym and it's noisy and crowded and there's no real space there, sometimes it's really smelly with all the rubber mats. Ugh, it's just sometimes so gross. And I don't want to get onto the hotel room floor, or sometimes I'll put a whole bunch of towels down. But I've been known to do bed yoga. So you can stretch on your bed in so many ways. You don't need a floor. You can use the bed to do dips and whatnot on. So there's a lot of things you can do with just your body, your weight, and either a bed or the floor. Number 5, use downtime and use the time you are waiting around. How much time, oh my gosh, I feel is wasted. Now, it's not so much now because my children are older, but I had children doing sports and activities and events and whatnot. Art classes and all the stuff that kids do, and we've got to take them to, and then what do? We sit around and wait. Now, sometimes I would work and sometimes I would read a book, but sometimes I would use that time and actually do my physical activity, especially if that was going to be the only time in the day where I could move. So you can certainly, if you're on the sidelines, say at a soccer game like I was, you can bring a blanket, get on the ground, and do some stretching and body weight moves. If you are taking your child to an activity, sometimes they even have, especially if it's like a gymnasium or something, the waiting area is even set up that you could get on the floor and do the work. Or sometimes you can ask the people, can I just go over in that corner there and do some stretching? And a lot of times they'll say yes, as long as you're not being intrusive on what the children are doing. If there's no place inside and you've got clement weather, you can take a walk while you're waiting. That is a great way to get some activity in. Or if it's inclement weather, you can go, if there's a mall in the area, you can go for a walk around the mall, do some mall walking. If you're lucky enough and your child's activity is at the beach, you could go for a walk on the beach. So many great ways to move while you're waiting. Now, while I'm in the car, this is one of my favorite times to do some movement because we spend a lot of time in the car in Los Angeles. If you want to completely omit your car and use a bicycle or some other means of getting to where you work if you live close enough. that's even better. But if you're in the car, you want to do some deep breathing. That means from the lower abdominal muscles, really using the transverse abdominis. So that's that core part of your lower abdominal muscles that so many people really aren't working. They do like a million crunches and miss this really crucial muscle. So I'll put a link in the description to that particular exercise, because you can do that anywhere, anytime. Even women who have just had a cesarean section can do a transverse abdominis muscle exercise. Butt squeezes, so just squeezing your butt and releasing. I'll be in my car and I'll stretch my arm even down the side where I'm driving and get a pec stretch in there. So there's so many things that you can do with movement. And I'll also do this on airplanes. Sometimes on the airplane too, I'll put my leg under me and do like a quad stretch, or I'll do some spinal twists. So you've got even more room, especially if you're not driving the car, you can do these things too. When I'm waiting in line, I'll do some of the above, the transverse abdominis exercise or the butt squeezes, or, practice my deep breathing. But in lines, especially if there's a counter in front, like at a bank or whatever, or if they've got those sort of metal poles that you kind of go around in the line, I will do calf stretches, hip flexor stretches. I will put my arms behind and do my pec stretch if there's a bar there, or sometimes there's a doorway there. You can kind of lean in with the bar on the door, just sort of lean against it or away from it, depending on what you want to stretch. And then also Kegels, which you can do in the car too. I just put it in this one in line. And if you don't know what Kegels are, that is where you're using your pelvic floor and you're squeezing everything in. If you're a woman, because this is all I know, it's as if you're stopping the stream of urine when you're urinating. Now, that's just to give you an example of the muscles. You don't want to actually do it while you're on the toilet, but you're holding and you're drawing all the energy up. And it is really, really great for pelvic floor health. And especially if you've had children, this is going to help keep everything inside your pelvis and not outside, which can become a problem the more children you have and the more time goes on with gravity, which is why it's also good to invert. And I may do a whole thing on inversion as well. All right, number 6, gardening. If you have not gardened, it is super labor intensive. I mean, I am not a big, I don't usually sweat when I work out, and I will get hot and sweaty when I'm doing gardening. So many things with the squatting and the lifting and the pushing and the pulling and, so much labor. Now, this is even if you're doing gardening in pots, because you're still moving around a lot and there's a lot of energy expended, but especially if you're doing outside gardening, obviously the bigger space you have and the more work you're doing, the more labor intensive it is. And then there's other benefits. You're getting your vitamin D, which is great for so many systems, including your immune system, your skeletal system, your mental health. You're getting the sun rays on your pineal gland, which is a whole nother topic too that I have to talk about one of these days. If you get out there and you're in bare feet, you're also going to be grounding, which is getting the energy of the earth. And that is the good energy that really helps restore and rejuvenate our internal battery system, because we are electrical beings. If you are in sneakers, not so much, because it's going to prevent that, it's going to insulate your feet. You can do leather, like moccasins are fine, but basically bare feet are the best. And obviously doing this again with your children, so it gets them moving, it gets them outside, it gets them in nature. It also gives them a connection with their food. So I find that children who help in a garden and who are involved in food preparation are the ones that are eating more vegetables and healthier foods, because they are involved in that process. And it's also bonding and spending time with your children. And this is one of the other rare commodities in these busy days. Okay, last but not least, we have Socialize. So how many times we meet up with our friends for, lunch or dinner or cocktails, or something where, again, we're sitting. And there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe before you go and do those things, you can meet up and take a walk or a hike or bike ride or some other activity with another person, because you're going to have that socialization factor in there. And that is super important for our mental health and well-being. And what it also usually does is you have a commitment to another person to move. And I'm going to say exercise, even though that's like a dirty word. So I like to use movement, because exercise people think has to be like this formal thing, and it doesn't. But if you have a commitment, it is going to make you show up when you don't feel like it, because we can have the best intentions. I'm going to get up every day at 5 a.m. and I'm going to do this and that. But if you are doing it alone, it's going to get very hard when it gets to crunch time and you're tired and you've got a lot going on. You're going to go, well, maybe I just won't do it today. And then today turns into 2 days and 3 days. So it just has to be a regular basis, whether it's daily or a couple of days a week or even weekly, even if it's monthly. It's something where you're connecting with somebody and you're moving. And then if you want, you can reward yourself with like lunch after or dinner or something like that. Also, taking classes, whether it's by yourself or with a friend. So if it's with a friend, you have that shared learned experience for this new thing that you're learning, which is actually really great for your brain. If you want to keep your brain growing, new networks, you've got to challenge it. And there's nothing better than doing it than trying a new skill, because as anybody knows, when you first start doing something, it's really hard until you learn how to do it and create those pathways. You can join a recreational sports team with a friend, or if you don't have a friend to do a particular thing, then you're going to meet new people. So that's a way to socialize. There's meetup groups around. So if you don't know anybody, you've just moved someplace, you can join a meetup group that you are going to try an activity that is of interest to you or you haven't done yet and it's new and you want to learn. So again, learning that new activity is really great, like rock climbing or aerial arts. That's how I got started in aerial arts. I was like, let me see what this is about. And then before I knew it, I was hooked. But it doesn't have to be something strenuous. It can be yoga or Tai Chi, martial arts, other things that have other health benefits besides the movement themselves. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what you do. But if you're doing it with someone else, then it is going to be way more fun and you're going to be way more committed. With the aerial arts classes, we had to basically pay for them first. So you pay for them, and if you don't cancel within 24 hours, guess what? You're out of that money. Well, I made sure that I made it to those classes, right? Because I am not going to be out of that money. And if I was super tired, I was like, all right, no matter what, I'm getting there. I'm doing the movement. And of course, once you start getting going, you start getting energized. And before you know it, you are having a great time. And so you just have to get there. Don't go, if you're at work and you want to go somewhere, don't go home and sit down. Forget it. Go right from your work, have your exercise clothes with you in your car or in a bag, and go straight to that activity. Because if you get home and you put your feet up, that's going to be the end, unless you have some commitment. And the socialization certainly helps. Now, this is a little bonus one. I didn't put it on here, but I showed my husband this presentation. And do you know what his comment was at the end? He was like, yeah, that was really great, but what about sex? So I guess that could be 7B as far as socializing. If you have a friend, a really good friend, then that is definitely another way to connect with them. And there is movement involved. And so that is another creative way to get movement into your life. Well, I am at los-chiropractor.com. If you would like to get a hold of me, if you have questions or concerns. I have a whole range of things I do in my practice. I've been doing this for 30 years, so I've picked up a lot of tools and tricks Either I've lived them practically or through raising my children or helping a patient with an issue. So I have so many ways to help people. Just a few of them are listed there. Some of them I need to have people come in the office, but a lot of these things I can do remotely as well, thanks to the technology that we have out there. So if you've got something you would like to talk to me about, just go ahead and reach out to me. All right, so if you found this information useful, which I hope you did, that's why I'm doing these videos, please do like, subscribe, and of course share with those people that you love so that they too can get the benefits of movement in their life. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week at my regular time, Tuesdays, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. And as always, if you don't catch these videos live, you can catch them on the replay.